If we could boil this pod down to one thing, I think really it would be mental toughness. We get wrapped up in the physicality of it all, but it would really come down to mental toughness. So it's Christmas time. We're staring down the barrel at everybody rushing out to get a gym membership and start a new diet. And so we figured we'd talk about that for a minute. But first, I liked the what we did on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
And we took all the kids to Boys in the Boat. It's a book I read years ago.
Well, number one, really fast. How many times in our marriage or have you asked to go see a movie? Have you brought up a movie to see? I can remember one other time. Maybe I'm wrong, but...
I don't even know if that one other time exists, but not very often.
It was a movie about a church. Oh, no, about Charles Dickens or C.S. Lewis.
C.S. Lewis, yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
But besides that, I don't remember one. If you can think of one, but how many times?
Yeah, no, you're the one talking us going into movies for sure. Most of the time, I'm not much of a movie guy, but this Boys in the Boat I wanted to see because I'd read the book, it made an impression some years ago, and I really wanted our kids to see it.
So yeah, that's my next question was how many times have you asked to take all seven kids, which the 6 this year, to the movies with us when you suggested a movie? So I guess
usually that's death first,
right?
And I'm okay
so
with dropping them off at the movies.
This is the first time, and the first time in 5 years. That's a first. So it's usually me asking to take the kids.
Are you trying to plant seeds for me to do a New Year's resolution?
No, I'm trying to tell you or show you that that got my attention first. Now, the reason it did was because of the book you read.
Yeah, it's an interesting era type book. It's based on a true story, and the book is the story, and it's about a row team out of UW, so University of Washington, the Huskies there, and we're not known for our rowing over here in the West. That's more of an East Coast thing, an Ivy League thing. I think somebody quoted on on a comment on one of the podcasts or one of the shorts or something like that you're not hiring a lawyer unless they're an Ivy League lawyer. And I would love to meet one of those worth of crap. But nonetheless, apparently we beat them in rowing too. So
well, yeah, heart plays, not that the whole. I didn't know anything about that story at all, or the book, but even the story, and the story in and of itself is one worth.
So just to lay the foundation, the reason why I wanted to see it is because we have 2 12-year-old boys, a 12-year-old girl, and a 15-year-old, and one of our 18-year-olds are with us. And I wanted each of them to throw away their cell phones, game systems, and all of that jazz and realize how cushy their lives are.
Yeah.
And to maybe make some differences, make some changes, because that cushy makes for soft. And life isn't really designed for soft. And it just beats you up nowadays with depression, with anxiety, with the lack of general human connection and content and commitment and all that jazz. I mean, just the lack of human connection. I mean, just staring at a screen isn't the same as interacting with the world. And I just wanted them to see a different way of being. And that particular movie in the book, first, it really caught me because it's based in the Depression. People that had very limited opportunity, and some wanted to go to school, and if they wanted to go to school, they really, really, really had to get through and figure out any which way but Sunday to get through school. We're talking soup kitchens, we're talking odd jobs, we're talking whatever.
Whatever it took.
Right, whatever it took.
if you're lucky
Yeah.
enough to find something.
And the historical
Wow.
backdrop on this is so many people went west during the Depression. And the soup kitchen of the West is what they called it eventually. They found very limited opportunity here, and specifically in the California, Washington regions where this story takes place, is so many people migrated west looking for opportunity. And so there was just as little work here in the West as there was anywhere from where they were coming from.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it was kind of a...
I wonder why they thought that.
Well,
The media?
Not the media back then wasn't rolling quite the same. But yeah, still, propaganda, sure. It's better in the West, and, And so this mad migration, you got to read Grapes of Wrath. Everybody was going to the West.
I did happen to read that book. I don't remember it very well. I was in 7th grade. But I did read it all, and I did understand the totality of the situation, how dire it was. I did understand that.
Yeah, it's...
And how that was... I don't remember all the details like you. You've got that.
So I wanted the kids to see young men sweating and committed and willing and, about something.
Having to yeah.
And that have to. Because they had themselves to depend on. They didn't have mom and daddy writing the checks. There's a few, I don't know if you remember in the movie, there's a few little, we don't have the big money, like the old money, like they
Harvard,
do back east, like Harvard and Yale.
Yeah. Even Cal was a...
Cornell. Cal was a honeypot.
When those boys had rowed they'd been raised to row, didn't they? Those teams, which were very, very hardworking. I would like our kids to be that hardworking.
Right.
I'd
like them to mow the lawn. That would be a start.
Like,
park their bike. Get on their bike.
But the movie, I know, right?
Right.
Do something. No,
put down the
I don't
switch,
feel like it.
Put down the phone.
Maybe pick a broom up. Do you remember how to do that? Do you even know? Wait a minute. Do you know how to clean a toilet? You're almost a teenager.
So that was an interesting part of that movie that you pointed out is one of the main characters in the movie was just passing by a broom in the wood shop where the older man, kind of a father figure type, elder statesman, older man that built the boats. And so there's sawdust all over the floors.
Crafted the boats.
He crafted boats, yes. And there's sawdust all over the floor, and the kid couldn't help himself. Just started sweeping the workshop.
After he was invited to help with the boat.
Yeah, wasn't asked to do anything, wasn't asked to start in on anything, just started sweeping the floor. And he messed that up, right?
Yeah.
And he just
is that in the
started
book? I'm curious.
It is.
It is.
And in Grapes of Wrath and Boys in the Boat, both books, they make reference to a man couldn't pass a tool without picking it up and using it, even for no wage at all. They could not pass a ditch.
Why do you think that is?
Because they were used to working.
It's who they were, what they did.
Yep, it's who they were. It was their identity, and whether they were making any money or not, they would work manually. They would work with their hands, and I think that's in large part why our newer age folks out there, there's a pill for everything. Where's the work? And if more people were active and doing, I think we talked about it a while back. My mom's going through those knee things right now, and the knee replacement's not working out so well, so she's kind of an in-between getting a new one, but she's got a 90-day...
She has a 3-month holding
waiting
pattern.
For a new knee. It has no knee right now.
No knee. A concrete antibiotic block to...
Super fun. And she's slowly going insane. And she's jogged 5 miles a day her entire life and always called it, and I found this interesting, I was young, but she always called it her depression pill.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that too. I've heard exercise is the most underutilized antidepressant.
And I would say alcohol is
Underprescribed.
probably the most overutilized.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me because it just being
Yeah.
active, being about something, chasing something. I mean, these boys, all they wanted was a bed and a meal. They were guaranteed a part-time job if they
Yeah.
made the squad.
Yeah.
And there was hundreds of boys trying out, and 8 filled the boat.
8.
And they were only filling the JV spot.
Yes.
And the JV spot ended up, and we're not going to spoil it. Everybody could run
Yeah.
out there. It's worth a watch. It's a good one. The JV spot ended up shining. And these are boys that had never rowed a boat before, other than the jockey, the coxswain.
The coxswain, which I didn't even know that. The sport of row is something I didn't understand. I didn't know, but it's very in and of itself.
It really brings you into it, doesn't it? It
Elegant.
just really kind of brings you into that.
There's so much about that movie and the many principles in it, the many things.
But what I liked the most was the hard work and the willingness to go without the meal, the willingness to go without many, because they didn't have a choice oftentimes. But remember, in the movie, there was that one time where he said no thanks, and he kept working.
Yes, well, but that was interesting. That was a point of itself because the friend.
Said, I have enough for 2.
He goes, yeah, come to. Well, I'm not. He said, I'm not hungry. Like, not even like, no, I can't. I don't have money. Or he just said, I'm not hungry. And the guy said, I have enough for both of us. He said, I'm not that hungry.
Right.
I'm not that hungry.
Yeah.
Like
So he had a friend that invited him, said, hey, let's go to dinner. He said, I'm not hungry, right?
Yeah. Come on, let's go. I'm not hungry. And the guy knew what that meant. And he said, well, I have enough for both. And he said, I'm not that hungry.
Yeah.
I took that to mean that he took care of himself, and he didn't need, but he took pride in that, and he didn't need to, he needed to make it on his own, and that every man was that way in that time. That
particular character was battling with a little bit of something that ultimately he probably would take that friend of his up on that at the end of things. Being able to kind of be okay with being charitable and accepting charity and
that's why I wanted to ask your opinion, because I'd taken that as a symbol of about how people did not mooch off other people, or the government. They didn't mooch, or they wouldn't take easily. And if they did, it really meant something. Maybe I looked too much into that, but
that's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, folks,
it really had to be that hungry. You know?
Bringing this nation to its knees during the Depression was a governmental to-do for sure. I mean, it took a lot to bring this country to its knees. And just a few years later, that war broke out and got right back off the knees and started.
It was almost a godsend, wasn't it? Really, I mean, it was almost a blessing.
We can get into the weeds on that one, but the reality is I just wanted our kids to see what excellence looks like.
Yes.
What there's a goal, and then there's step by step by steps. First step, make the team. Then learn how to row.
Yeah.
Get into rowing shape, and that coach was putting them through all sorts of hell because they'd never rowed before.
They started in shape.
Right. They were all fit.
They were very fit, not just thin or
They're active.
They're active, and they were trained. I mean, they were hardworking, and they were.
Yeah, they didn't look like it was the first time they'd ever sawed a log before.
Yeah,
like each one of them knew what they were doing. They were no stranger to hard work, hard labor.
Yes, and they only, it was the wasn't it the height, or what that their groups that they had to qualify in? Was it the height or was it the weight? I can't remember. Remember, like each team had, or this group went with that, and they trained them to see where.
Yeah, they were broken up into groups. They were just broken up. There's so many of them, they had to break them up into groups. And there were 3 different coaches.
It looked like they were different heights to me, but I could have been like.
Could have been. I mean, in that sport, you have their weight
I didn't even know
matters.
Yeah. And the coxswain, because they called him a jockey.
Yeah.
Or every horse has a jockey, and he looks just like a jockey. He has to be light, small, or he has to fit.
Turned out to be a pretty cool part of that show.
Oh my gosh, yeah. He was something.
Yeah. So I just wanted the kids, and they did respond to it. They did enjoy the movie. I mean,
They did, yeah.
in a way that I was surprised, especially what our daughter said, the 15-year-old. I mean, she was interested in how it didn't have any. You want to kind of finish that?
I just asked what she thought of the movie. So it's a 15-year-old girl. I know her, so I know kind of how she'd walk into that movie in the first place. My son liked the movie Rudy for a long time, so I figured he was kind of open to something if that was...
I was a little bit nervous about him because the 12-year-olds are all about the effects and all about the...
Yes, well, he's a big Marvel,
thing.
too.
He's a big, they're all into...
But he's also...
The loud, the noisy, the explosions. And to a degree, so is press. I mean,
Press is okay into it. She's not really that into it.
Yeah, I'd say she's an old soul.
Yeah. So when she goes, "Oh, I liked it." She goes, "Oh, I actually really liked it. I didn't know if I'd like it very much, but," she goes, "It was like really interesting the whole time." And she goes, "There wasn't like, like a gay part or like a she goes, or like weird awkward stuff, which meant like adult content or like
right."
And she goes, and it was like interesting, like the whole time, because it drew you in, and it was just as exciting as any.
Yeah, the story itself.
The
story itself is very moving. It doesn't need sex. It doesn't need explosions. It doesn't need harsh language. And
it did have a little couple words, if I remember, a-hole, like a-hole, or it doesn't matter. But it was like nothing.
It wasn't apple dumpling, but it was close.
It was very, very well done.
Yeah. But I just really, you're right. I've never picked up my phone and ordered movie tickets before.
No, not only, you did order the C.S. Lewis, maybe, actually.
I don't think I did.
But, that's true. You have never asked, we should take our kids to, I'll see this, which you're open to doing that if there was something worthwhile. You're not that type, but you mostly don't want to be stuck in one place, number one, which is why we don't go to movies, and number two, to deal with the big group for that small amount of, you know what I mean? It's a lot, and it's a lot of money. So I knew this was something.
Yeah.
It got my attention.
I was excited to have the kids see what life looks like.
And Presley said, she goes, I don't know any of their movies like that. That's what she goes. And I said, that was similar to how movies when I was growing up just had some quality to it. She goes, like they just don't make movies like that much, which George Clooney was the director, maybe, remember?
Yep.
And I
was surprised, to be straight with you, that he did this particular.
Well, that was a hit against it for you.
Yeah. Not that I don't like him as an actor, I do.
He is.
I perceive him as a little bit of a fruitcake, so I think.
You do, yeah.
But I do like his movies.
He portrayed the book as it was written.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He portrayed. He didn't add extra minority of any kind where
not
they
a whole
didn't
lot.
belong.
Not a whole lot of Hollywood went into this one.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was.
And he would have the clout to pull that.
Yeah, I would assume that any actor he wanted, any whatever he wanted, any
storyline too. They wouldn't have to add anything.
Yeah.
He would have.
But this one stayed pretty true.
He's a new dad, right?
I did not know. I thought he was 467 years old.
Yeah, he's older and distinguished.
Oh boy!
That's, but he has young twins. They're young.
Oh.
And so I just wondered. He's never really directed, I don't think, before, and so I wonder if he has felt that same art missing from Hollywood and wanted the similar.
Well, I just think he might be smart enough. Smart enough to look at the last couple of movies that have actually made it. Mm-hmm. And the only a couple come to mind. That Sound of Freedom did well, and Maverick did well. Mm-hmm. And those are, I suppose, what we would call throwback type of story unraveling and things like that. Mm-hmm. Movies. So, and this one was a historic piece, kind of like Miracle or.
But it flew under the radar, from what I understand. Like, not a lot of people not anyone I knew besides you, personally, had ever knew the story. but read the book too. It seems to be kind of like a under the radar, but really intelligent person. Everyone who I consider really intelligent
So
has
basically,
read,
your dad and
you,
kind of me.
You and my dad. Well, and I asked my dad if he'd seen that movie. He said, "I've read the book twice, and and he is from a Husky, or he did go to school there."
We won't hold that against him.
So we won't. Those are weeds too, Mister. But but others too. I mean, your friend at the gym. He said he'd read the book randomly, or someone read it to him.
Yeah, he said somebody read it to him. We're going to have to get to the bottom of what the chat is saying on that one.
Yeah, the chat.
Because literally, we're going to have to drag this can in here and say,
this seems a pod. Yeah, and he got a little awkward. I mean, not awkward, but he just felt like he had explained a little bit more. It was a guy.
But we still don't know exactly what transpired. We're going to figure out.
I think I was standing there, and I think that might be a male conversation. A man.
Why would that be a male conversation?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
He felt like he had explained it.
I was happy that the kids liked it, and that they still are moved by that kind of thing.
Yes.
And so
they're human.
They saw hard work. They saw blood, sweat, tears. They saw sacrifice, and they saw kind of a historic payoff for that.
Yes, but it wasn't. But just one thing, like I feel like to add to that is that they were nobodies, and they weren't. So it doesn't matter who you are, where you land, at any time. They did extraordinary. They were extraordinary. And in 1 year, what they went to the Olympics
they were beating men in the Olympics and people just to get there that had been rowing before they walked. I think they said is what the statement was. The teams that they were rowing against had been rowing since before they walked.
Yeah, they'd been bred to
row.
Mm-hmm. And they worked hard too. Those boys, boys from that class, they were hardworking, and they worked hard that was obviously a very...
Oh, no, you go out onto any football field right now, or baseball, or basketball, or curling, or hockey, or whatever. There's still hard work. There's still blood being spilt. There's still a lot of sweat being exerted. But I don't think that there's any difference.
But when you want something, you have extraordinary power.
These boys had the propaganda or what was sold to them was, we need to fill a spot. Rowing was not popular at University of Washington at that time. They had a team, which was huge in and of itself, but it was a club team, and
I don't know what that means, but
it's not a university team. It is part of the university, but it's a club team.
Okay.
And so what happens here is they need to fill inexpensively the junior squad. So they have a squad for the varsity squad to go up against.
Okay.
To practice against.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the premise.
Okay.
And they need 8 fellas, and so they offered a part-time job and a bed and room and board, part-time job. Okay. That has a line around the corner because people just wanted to eat. And they're willing to work all day and all night and all day and all night and then some. And this coach said that I will be making you do things that your body cannot do, is supposed to be impossible to do. And nobody dropped out. So the look on he said, heck, by tomorrow or the next day, most of you will have quit. Nobody did. And they could only take 8. I mean, can you imagine that? I mean, no one quit. Everyone stayed that course, tried like crazy just because they wanted that bed, they wanted that meal. And so this was an opportunity, and 8 folks got it. And
they'd never done it before.
For me, it harkens back to a much lesser caliber movie, but entertaining nonetheless. It's Gene Hackman in The Replacements. I mean, just that's kind of a throwback Kenobi flick. What's that? Keanu Reeves.
Kenobi.
Flick there in the 90s, I think it was. But I love the part where that prima donna quarterback breaks the strike and comes back to the team, and Keanu Reeves' spot was replaced by the prima donna quarterback, the big contract guy, and they're losing, where they had won quite a bit of games in a row to get to where they were at to go to the playoffs, and they'd done it with, they call them scabs or leftover players, and they were getting their butts kicked, and the reporter, as Gene Hackman was walking off at halftime, said, "What do you need, coach, to get back in this game in the second quarter or the second half?" And he just slapped his heart with his playbook or papers all wound up. He slapped. And she said, "What does that mean?" He says, "Heart, miles and miles of heart." And so you can teach somebody how to row. You can condition them to death. You can absolutely have the tool set and create that tool set, but the heart. You can't coach heart. And you can't coach heart. That's it. I mean, that's why we've always loved Rocky. That's why we've always loved Seabiscuit. Yeah, heart can be in a horse too, and the jockey.
Yes, because the jockey had heart, or he had heart for that position, and the boat crafter had spent his whole life trying to crafting a perfect boat, and needed a team. And the coach had been an excellent rower. We don't even know his background or where he comes from. That's fine.
In the book, you find out.
But but he was there even with this team that doesn't do. He wasn't looking for status. That's his position. And so together they,
Yeah. No, it's a really cool movie. I like that our kids all responded super positive to it. I'd like to, I don't think we're alone in the parent world where you've got kids that don't seem to be terribly motivated, or, unfortunately, overly so motivated, meaning maybe the parents are overly motivated. I'm going to a different chapter now. I'm jumping the fence because I think there's a whole new chapter altogether, so I don't know how much I want to dig into this. But you've got, in all your days gone by, you so wanted to be a big-time football player, or a big-time cheerleader, or a big-time dancer, or a big-time basketball player, big-time whatever. And so since you weren't, and you're a has-been and a washout, you got all these kids now. And so you're spending every weekend and every waking moment during the week dropping off, picking up, spending all sorts of income you may or may not have, putting them in something to where they could just burn out or worse by the time they're in the 8th grade. By the time you can even get to a point wherein the competitions are worth a crap, you're burnt. The kid's burnt out.
Because they're doing it for you. To fulfill your
I don't even know if they're doing it for the parent.
No, they don't even know they are, but the parent is.
Right. They're not, the parent's not doing it for their kids.
No, they're driving the child to do it for them.
Right.
Or, to fulfill
Now, I understand keeping them busy and
Yes.
keeping them engaged. I understand that. But at some point, we got to be real with ourselves and say, well, most kids are probably not going to grow up and be Charles Barkley. Most kids likely are not going to be Michael Irvin. They just aren't going to be. Some maybe, I suppose, you don't want them to not dream. You don't want them to not compete. You want to give them the shot to doing everything they can do, but you want to kind of not overrun their life with something that you just shove down their throat. So the reason I bring this up is kid that was in my young men's group some years ago, probably one of the best junior high, is when he had a junior high school tournament. It was baseball. He was one of the best second basemen I've ever seen. He had feet that were amazing, just quick feet. And then he got his hands through the zone quick. He could hit the ball hard. And this kid was not very big, but a lot of second basemen are not very large. And hung it up, retired. I mean, this kid was college bound. They had college scouts there watching him and a handful of other kids. And these are these are freshmen in high school. And
Well,
he just burnt out. He's just done. I just asked him what happened. He's like, oh, I just got tired of doing it. And I was like, all of that effort, but a decent pace that keeps the kid liking the sport, liking the competition, enjoying it, does require them to be pretty good at it, and their dedication.
Making a real decision. Do I want to do this? Do I like this? Or right? Not like I'm tired of it,
right,
or I'm overdone on it. But at least the other side of that is, to me, it seems like at least he knows he can if he wants. Because can our kid? I don't know that a lot of kids know if they could or not.
Go out in the backyard and throw with his kids now?
I see what you're saying. It's a trick. It's like a.
It's not a trick question. Like you
it's
go,
a tricky
you see it with this dance mom crap.
Yeah.
And you see it with them. What's the dance mom? Once the chick is on every psychotropic medication you can get your hands on, and if she does somehow grab a life outside of this whole thing and somehow stay out of rehab and somehow stay out of issues, then they're just a portly house mom. What are they doing? A back handspring in the backyard?
Right. True. But
what are they doing? What are they doing? Somebody show me what they did. Somebody show me what they turned out to be.
Nothing different than, or even better than the one on their electronics their whole life.
Right. And so now here we are going, now what do we do? Strike that balance. And that's why Boys in the Boat, I really wanted to take the kids there, because we have those that are really stuck on the electronics. I think a lot of folks out there do. And I want them to see what hunger looks like. I want them to see what, seeing something through looks like.
Yeah.
And how
pain.
good it feels. Ooh, yeah, pain.
Well, because pain is, I mean, there's pain of hard work to get something.
Well, and then you lost between 50 and 60 pounds.
Yes.
Was that easy?
Nope.
Was there pain involved there?
Every day. Every day.
I remember that year you were blading. I think the only time of the day that really fit for your schedule at that point was 6 o'clock in the morning, somewhere around there before
7. Yeah.
the kids had got up, or right after they left for, I don't
7.
remember what it was. But it was, a cold winter, that particular winter. It's been fairly nice so far. Okay,
I'm cold.
You're cold at 70 degrees.
Okay, but this is 38 degrees. But
Oh, that was yesterday. It was a cold winter. I was impressed. I was like, wow, she's just rolling through it. So yeah, there's pain involved. I'd like our kids to.
They avoid pain.
Yeah.
Anything that doesn't feel comfortable, we avoid it.
Yeah.
And it's emotional. If it's emotional pain, we're abused, or we are. That's not healthy. You know what I mean? And that's touchy. That's hard, but also.
I don't know why that's touchy. In that story, you have that young man that had a father issue. I mean, dad had left. He had been alone since he was 14, so on and so forth. And he was really struggling with his identity as, am I just going to be like my dad? It kind of goes unspoken throughout that whole, but it's the vein, or one of the veins of that entire movie. And he had to really deal with some emotional, some pretty hardcore. What kind of man am I going to be now that I'm a man? What am I going to be? Am I going to be like my dad and conduct myself this way, and this way? Or am I not going to be? And nowadays, we're in therapy for 20 years, and we got this and that and the other.
Something bad happened to us.
Instead of just looking
when
at
it was hard.
Yeah.
It was we had a hard childhood, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
And
we all did, I think, to some degree or another. But people go through hard times, and it does not mean any pain is okay, or that some is definitely better than others, I think. But that we don't always have control, and it's really important to get to that quickly. in life that we can't control or be hung up on others' decisions.
Yeah.
The pain, we have to be free of that, in my opinion.
I think that what you're saying is you got to drill down on, I guess,
yeah, it's hard to
the reality that life has pain in it.
Yeah,
has
and
disappointment.
You have
has
to leave
failures.
it in the back, leave it in the past if you want to. Don't bring it.
And you're gonna
as
have
best
to,
you can.
And you're gonna have to endure it. You're gonna have to endure it. Not all. And we enjoy stories of enduring well. Somebody that just we're mesmerized by somebody like a Rudy that, you know, tidal wave after tidal wave after tidal wave of seeming failures, but he's still in the game. He's still in the game. He's still trying. He's still trying. He's still going. And it's like the little engine that could.
Yeah.
We look at that, but then we have folks that haven't or shouldn't struggle. And
Right.
shouldn't have any,
Yes.
you know, everything's been handed to them, so on and so forth, and they seem to struggle just the same.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
there's that prospect that pain comes along with life. I mean, there's no
Yes.
question.
Yeah, you can't make it.
And so
That's hard
if
because
I
the.
could
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no,
The
you-
dad in that movie,
Mhm.
that was a important part for me because the dad was embarrassed or ashamed when he saw him on the street, and the son was looking for something, maybe not, but just drawn to him,
Sure.
and the dad was ashamed, but was quick to tell him, "You don't owe me anything, and I don't owe you anything." As ugly as that is there's a truth in that. Like, he respected him as a man. Didn't ask for him to come. He did ask for him to come help, but kind of gave him his space. He did what he did, and he had to live with that shame his whole life because we don't know exactly what his position was, and it's not to say it's okay, but the
It would be
but
fair
then
to
the
say dad had his pain. It'd
Yes.
be fair to say son had his pain,
yes,
and both are going to have to get through it,
yes,
or not.
or not. And is the dad going to bring the sins of his past into tomorrow? He did. How can he not?
Yeah.
But he also had a genuine desire for his good because he listened he gave money when he didn't claim that boy now that he was doing great things. He didn't claim him to anyone.
Now that he's going to the Olympics, he wasn't.
He was just
waving
listening
his
by
flag,
himself.
he was by himself listening to the.
and wanting it for him and not jealous of it or claiming it as part of his life or some kind of. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so if we could boil this pod down to one thing, I think really it would be mental toughness. We get wrapped up in the physicality of it all, but it would really come down to mental toughness. Like if our kids, as they turn the dial to their 18s, to their 20s, to their 22s, and they're mentally tough and capable of the challenges life throws. And that comes with all sorts of shapes and sizes. That's fitness, that's mind, body, spirit, that's being resilient.
It's intentional.
You get let down in life by friends, by family, by employers, employees, by whatever, right?
Everyone.
And
yourself.
Right? People will people.
All day.
Life will life. And then, you'll let yourself down. It's a good point. Time after time. And it's that tortoise that beats the hare every time. It's that mentally tough. I just think mental toughness is so underrated.
Underrated. It's
Undertaught.
It's undertaught and it's undervalued.
Yeah.
Well, and it's hindered too with times.
I think cluttered.
It's not just the medication.
It's just one aspect of it. I just think cluttered.
Cluttered. It's very busy.
Yeah, life is very busy. It's very cluttered.
Try to keep up. So when you're saying parents are over, what did you say? They're over motivated. In a way.
Oh, yeah, they're trying to bury them. They're trying to achieve through.
They're trying to keep up too.
Right.
There's a keep up,
Joneses.
like keep up with the Joneses or the world. You know, it's hard to find the balance of all things. But
well, you gotta wonder what's rolling through their marbles, honestly, because I'm sitting here looking at this going, yeah, that's really remarkable that they're that good at dance at 8 years old with the full set of makeup and look like John Benet Ramsey or whatever her name was. Just crazy cuckoo, one flew over the cuckoo's nest. I don't understand that. I look at that and think to myself, can't they just be a little girl for a minute? You know, it's good to keep them active and have them have an outlet that's active, but can't they be?
But then they're
young?
unrelatable to the girl next door who doesn't, and they need that social inclusion too. There's a lot of sides to it, but there is the discipline that they learn or the desire to the desire or the ability to do hard work if they wanted to.
Anakin Skywalker, they can just zap them. They're going to turn right up on their parents and zoop them. I'm just telling you because they're learning the skills to be. That's the other side of the That's the other side of the. I just
extreme,
don't agree with it.
In my opinion,
I just think it's too bad that the kid can't be a kid. And you know, if your kid has a breakdown or an injury or a whatever, and they're in counseling, meanwhile they're going to every pom-pom aholics anonymous over every damn weekend of the year. It's
because they're carrying everyone's emotional baggage, like their parents, and the guilt for letting the team down, themselves down, to keep up with that.
Whatever the case might be, I don't know. All I know is it's just there's something sick and wrong with that, and I just think let the 8-year-old be an 8-year-old and be with them, parent them.
Yeah, let them dance and then take them home to play the rest of the.
Sure.
You know,
watch a movie with them, read a book with them.
Yeah, let them go to dance and learn for an hour.
Cook a meal with them, and you know, it's called raising.
But not
dropping off and picking up curb to curb.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
and making sure their makeup's on perfectly and they got Jell-O in their hair.
Jello?
I don't know how they make that simply irresistible.
I don't know. I mean, I see both. I see good to it too, but I do see it's just the imbalance. It can be imbalanced. It can get to very imbalanced, which is just the other side of the extreme. It's not any better. I don't know.
We just saw 8 boys in a boat, and we're going to end it on this because I'm gonna say that they probably achieved greatness in this movie. I think anybody that sees the trailer can kind of put that together. However, I also feel like each of them, we had one of them playing the piano, we had them all dancing, we had them all, you know, there's a little bit of a love interest, there's a little bit of that, and what we're talking about here is why are we zapping the life out of our children, whether it be electronics, whether it be club sports, whether it be just all inclusive, just all in on this one particular thing, hoping that our kid's going to be the next. You know, I don't know about the dancing thing, the dance moms. They intrigue me to no end because it's like,
there's a show.
What are you trying to achieve through your daughter?
The same thing.
Or daughters.
A Pop Warner is, or a baseball.
Pop Warner was one time a year. Little League was Little League, but now it's year round, and I don't know. And that's club, and some are different than others, but it's competitive. And I do think that there's a time and place for it as they get older. But time management is so important, and to let them be a kid.
Yeah.
You know,
yes.
You're only 8 once. You're only believing in
but that
Santa
means
Claus.
to go outside.
Yeah.
But to let them, they need a little freedom to do that.
If they believe in Santa Claus, they don't believe they should be getting chucked around a stage.
Chucked around a stage?
Yeah, with fake eyelashes. I just don't think so.
Yeah. They can shake their butts. So
I just don't think they should shake their butts on the stage if they believe in Santa Claus.
No, yes, I agree.
And once they stop believing in Santa Claus and that's what they really want to do and they're like begging you to go and be part of the whatever squad, fine. You know what I mean? At that point, I think, fine.
Yeah.
Right? And you got a social outlet there too. You've got a physical outlet there. And okay, why not? But if you're buying into Santa Claus and you're waiting for the Tooth Fairy, I just don't think there's when you put it like that.
Yes.
Look at the response. But
they're babies still.
But how many people do you know have these babies
You know more than I do.
shaking their wag.
That's awkward to me.
Just doing it.
No, yeah.
I mean,
No, that's obviously a
I just
problem.
think it's pathetic.
Yeah.
I just think it's really sad that these parents don't have enough self-worth themselves that they have to live through all these wingnuts.
Yeah,
But anyway,
they're too lazy to achieve greatness where they're at, whatever they want right there. That's lazy. That's an excuse. That's a cop out. That's abuse. It could be. I don't know. To make a child do that.
Since we've made so many friends on this pod, should we just end it right now and say Happy New Year and good luck with those resolutions?
I shouldn't have said that. I mean, yeah. Okay, maybe.
Okay. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.